Hello friends! I recently posted my first video on YouTube, and originally I wanted to make a few more in quick succession, but then life happened, as it so often does. I experienced a pretty big failure shortly after that video went up, and it threw me for quite a loop. So, for this tiny video, I want to talk about dealing with failure while suffering from rejection-sensitive dysphoria and/or perfectionism. To be fair, this is only what works more or less for me, and you may need different things. Also, this will be really short, because try as I might, there's only so much failure I can actually work around. So, step 1 is admitting to yourself that the failure happened. There's no way around this. You need to honestly examine whether it was your fault alone, or if there was someone or something else involved. Or sometimes even if it was your fault at all. Ask yourself, could I have, with the knowledge and skills that I had at the time, prevented this from happening? If the answer is no, then it's not really your fault. You didn't have the tools to make this right. If the answer is yes, ask yourself what you need to change so that this won't happen again. This step then also involves apologizing to anyone you need to apologize to. Step 2 is do not isolate. It's very tempting for me to not talk to anyone and just waste away in my bed for a few weeks, but this only makes me hate myself more, and it gives me too much time to think about the failure. Sometimes you need to remove yourself from the situation first and come back to think about it at a later date, maybe with a second opinion and different perspective. Ideally, you want to surround yourself with people who are supportive and who you can discuss the failure with without them judging you. But even people who you can't talk to about the failure are better than isolation. This is really more of an ongoing thing, both with failure and in general life. Try to look to the future. How do you rectify the mistake of failure? Because you can't change that it happened. Deal with the future, not the past. You are allowed to be upset about it, and you're allowed to cry about it. You can feel these feelings in the here and now. But you also have to get back up and look to the future instead of living in could-haves and maybes. Oftentimes when you look at how do I rectify this, the things that give us these huge feelings of hopelessness are super easy to make right. In my case, the way to make this right is to just take my driving exam again and be done with it. That is it. That is the conclusion to the failure that has been keeping me up for the last week or so. But in order to come to this conclusion that it is super easy, I had to talk to other people. And also, I had to do one thing, and that's escapism. There are kind of two types of people I've encountered. One who absolutely hate escapism and who will judge anyone who tries to escape from their life, and the other half who are like, yes, this is a valid way to self-regulate. And I am firmly in the self-regulate corner. Escapism, like watching documentaries, watching shows, playing video games, reading books, are all valid ways to self-regulate when you feel a lot of big emotions. I personally like watching documentaries when I am upset, but whatever you want to do is fine, as long as you don't forget the ongoing thing, look to the future. It's okay to escape your own life for a day or two, remove yourself from the situation, but you need to come back. This is really all I have energy for. Those are my tips. Don't isolate. Escapism is valid, but don't overdo it. Look at the future, not at the past, and be kind to yourself. And that is really the most important thing here. Be kind to yourself. I know it's hard, and I know, especially if you have these things like perfectionism or rejection-sensitive dysphoria, it can feel like any mistake makes you worthless. But I promise you it doesn't. Everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes these things we who are very sensitive to that identify as mistakes or failures aren't even something that is our fault or that we could have prevented. So practice kindness to yourself. It's hard and you may need help, but you got this. Have a lovely day.